because the dukkan is the corner shop or the top
We
shop.
are live outside. Hey, yo, what's up, people?
What up, nation?
It's a revolution of expression.
You're tuned into the Dukkan Show. Stay tuned in.
Arab digital generation is shaping their identity, their creative expression, and their future. So please give a very warm welcome.
What is going on? How y'all feeling?
Welcome to your tribe.
All right, so welcome to another Dukkan Show special. This is going to be a great one. We've got none other than Taquito, Mr. Deep Voice, the MC on the mic.
Hi everybody. How y'all doing?
Magnificent.
Yeah. So while we were we weren't live, we were offline. We were talking about
We were talking smack. We were talking a lot
as
of
always, and this is what usually happens when Reem and I and Tak get together, and it's part of the game. So Tak has shared great examples of various crushes that he has had over time, and we all know these people. So we've realized that Tak has a type, and as Reem decided to coin the term, Tak's type is
What?
what did you call him? Okay, we got to do this again.
Tax type is what? Trouble.
Trouble.
Yes.
That's
Oh, I'm sorry. I
How
was
did you
so put on
zone
the
out?
spot because I was thinking about a type. The idea of having a type. It's not a physical thing
No, and
I don't think
knowing
that-
the options
Yeah.
that he shared, they don't look alike.
Yeah.
So it's not a
Right.
physical thing. No,
because I think everyone has. It's what you are attracted to, but it's not like I think traditionally when you ask what's your type, something like brunettes or blonde or
Right.
tall or short.
Mm.
or
Those,
from what
those
Reem and I have learned
descriptors,
watching trash TV. In one of the shows that we're watching, what did the dude say?
They must not live in your country.
Yeah.
90 Day Fiance teaches us that.
But also what's the other one? Oh, that Married at First Sight. Like the dude apparently his type was like brown girls.
Right. So
Right.
yeah.
So there's an assumption it's always a certain look
or it's a
race.
certain aesthetic that's
Yeah.
on the outside.
Yeah.
But
Right.
what I find more and more as I grow older in this world is that it's actually nothing to do with the way you look is so little
Right.
Yeah.
in comparison to your type being a feeling, a vibe, what you represent, like the culture you come from. You know what I mean? And so Tax certainly has a type.
So why do you think Tak's type is trouble?
I don't want to pigeonhole all the women Tack has said who's
You wouldn't be wrong.
if he has slid in your DMs, you trouble. No, I think the thing is that what these girls represent is something that I love, which is all of them are creative. Every single one of them are creative. Every single one of them have like a powerful voice about who they are. But
And a presence, like
And a presence.
they demand attention when they walk into a room or come into a space that they
Right.
occupy.
You hear
Which-
that, bae? You hear that?
yeah, which Technificent loves. But I also feel like there's always a sense of trouble lurking somewhere. And I don't
Right.
know if it's the combo of you guys. You know what I mean? Like sometimes people like separated are like, gunpowder, it's cool. And then you put gunpowder and heat and then something happens.
Boom.
Could blow up your country, could blow up your house,
True.
could blow up the
You know what
bedroom.
it is? You
You
know
know,
what
you have
it
to
is?
keep it contained.
I think for me it's like I like to solve problems. And I also like
Like
I
puzzles or like
People, bro.
problems.
Yeah,
People.
Problem.
the puzzling mentalities that people have.
Yeah.
And also I like when just me naturally as a person when it comes to anything romantic, I'm naturally take a dominating role just because of like how I've seen my parents,
Are your parents like loving?
super loving, but there is a very like clear power structure in the
Okay. And what does that look like? Like, what's that hierarchy?
So here's the thing. I spent most of my time around my mom. So I spend most of my time around women. My mom is the dominant, like the person in the relationship.
Yeah.
In the sense that she's the most expressive in terms of like, what she wants. Is very clear about everything. My dad is a lot more like, he's like a butterfly of like cuteness.
Yeah,
right?
Oh.
that's so nice.
But I spent a lot more time around my mom and I got comfortable around seeing my mom take positions of like leadership and like, so,
Right.
but then because my dad wasn't like, he's always working and stuff. So I didn't see him as often. I just took those traits from my mom
Right.
because I didn't have an alternative to look at anyway. So, but then at the same time, obviously, let's not put like the Freud
yeah,
in
that's
the
fine.
situation. But
Yeah.
naturally, we see these examples as we grow, and then
Yeah.
we replicate them in our future relationship. So I noticed that I have to, like the person that I'm attracted to has to have a certain level of dominance over themselves, at least, or over their person, just to know they know themselves, and it's very clear
Right.
that they know themselves. And
There's a comfort in who they are.
yeah,
Yeah.
Which is, look, how I've been wanting to ask the question, how are young people, like, how are you dating? Are you single right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're single right now.
Mm.
I haven't been single in like over a decade. So like, how are young people dating in this COVID? Well, I don't know if we're during, I don't know where we are. We're in COVID
I mean,
right now.
we're just in March 2021 somehow. So
Right.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
so this pandemic began pretty much a year ago.
yeah.
And so how for the past year have you and your friends
Mm.
figured out the dating scene, or have you just all been careless?
I think people have been a lot more brave,
Really?
like and like experimental.
So where do you
wh-
meet people?
wait,
like, or
but-
is it only a circle of
But
friends? Through the
brave and
friends that you
experimental,
know?
what context? I think that's great. But like, what do we mean?
In
here?
the sense that people they will jump into things a lot quicker now than before, even though it was already fast, and people like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, even me looking at my most recent relationship, like I like, compared to what I'd be more comfortable with, I did go into the situation very quickly. And I noticed, and this was at the start of COVID, I think it's because people are also, because they're kind of sick of, after the lockdown period that happened,
Yeah.
people just started becoming so like brave about who they're seeing, or they're romantically or otherwise, and they just stayed that way.
They just stayed brave.
They stayed brave. Like,
Yeah, bravery threshold doesn't like,
No.
once you hit that, it's almost
Yeah.
like sand you've dug out. It's
That's
like
it.
there.
Exactly,
That's how
exactly.
deep we're going now.
yeah, and I think the problem in this generation as well, in general,
You mean
is
your
there's-
generation?
My generation.
Okay, just checking.
Gen Z.
Just checking.
Yeah. As we have very conquest-based dating.
Tell me about that.
Oh, I like.
Yeah.
You know what I love about Gen Zs, and especially you,
And
is
so you
that
brand
you're
everything.
and quite expressive and descriptive with everything, and I love that
Yeah.
about you.
It makes things clear. But like,
Yeah.
no, I want to understand, what is conquest-based dating?
So everything.
Also, title of the episode.
There you go. There you go. That's a bar. I think the best way to put it is, now we see the value in a socioeconomic stature now
Mhm.
more than anything.
Of course.
And now with Instagram, particularly, like, because in social media platforms all over the world have different levels of importance. In Dubai, we can all agree at least Instagram is the leading, like,
At
Yeah.
the moment, yes.
yeah, with the Clubhouse kind of, doing
Close
this little thing.
is gearing it.
Yeah. But for now, Instagram, because it's visual, and Dubai is a very visually beautiful place of visually beautiful people, and like, it's just how things are on the surface area is super important,
Right.
right? People are becoming a lot more attracted to that, and they're becoming a lot more attracted to being around that and surrounding the things that are conventionally attractive to everyone in the region. So what I'll notice is, that people who, in my opinion, for example, are not the most compatible. I don't know them, how their relationship is, but people I'll know them personally, but I don't know how they interact with each other. I'd think that maybe they're not the best fit, but because this person is like, man, she's always out here, she's on the gram, she got this, she got that.
Yeah.
That's what they're attracted to. They're attracted,
Okay.
she got a vibe, bro. Look at her aesthetic.
So that
dog.
becomes the qualifier of what makes your type or an
Yeah,
ideal person.
and-
based
Well,
on-
it does.
And
It
it's
does.
how
Yeah.
people see you with them is what they love. It's like, yo,
The social-
I bagged this. Like,
Right,
whether it's female or
right.
male, it's like, I'm with this person. Especially when you're an
Okay.
artist, like a lot of whether female or male, regardless, like I've seen this in each case, but like, people want to be with artists for the sake of being with artists, and artists want to be with other artists because, like, it in their head it makes sense, because they're only because they're artists.
So
Right.
speaking of types, artistic
Yeah.
is a type.
is the
Yeah,
type,
for sure, for
right?
sure.
Definitely. But I think what's also interesting that I'm realizing is that back in the day, it was the arm candy. But here, it's not about being an arm candy, rather than, it's about complementing a social status online as a
Well,
package, like as a
yes.
couple, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So your I think that your value is defined by your online presence first, and then your offline presence.
Yeah.
So that's the difference
Yeah.
in, which is valid.
it's a
Unfortunately,
way-
It
I
is.
see
Yeah,
that.
of course.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Like
I-
hashtag couple goals or like
Exactly.
like
And you know,
that.
there's a lot of relationships that if they couldn't post online, they would not survive. It's because that is like their
That's their thing.
yeah. Like
that's the validation.
exactly.
Well, it's
exactly.
also what anchors them together.
Yeah.
It is a
Of course.
creative process. Like
Yeah.
it's not something that
No.
I dismiss as not creative. It's definitely something that is an output of content
Yeah.
whenever you decide
For
to
sure.
do it, right? And your relationship, just like many relationships pre-Instagram,
Yeah.
they're branded.
But I also think that
Yeah.
prior to that, the branding happened with celebrities,
Ah.
right? And that sort of established what the ideal couple should look like in a way. And then because of Instagram and hashtags popping up and like couple goals, now you want to replicate that online because now you can, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you can be a branded couple the same way celebrities that were branded couples.
I agree. I think that my experience, because obviously my Filipino family doesn't really have these heavy duty couple goals vibe in my Filipino family. In the Iraqi side, where I learned my Arab culture, there is a very clear, long before the internet, there is a very clear understanding of how you should represent yourself as a couple. It is very, very clear. And it is very gendered. It's somewhat patriarchal. And it's something that a lot of women that I knew really resisted against. And I can imagine giving young women a platform to define themselves is something that gives them empowerment,
Yeah.
My worry, and this is a fair worry, I think, is that everything is filtered, right? So getting to the depths of someone, do you feel that it's still easy to get to the depths of the women that you date? Or are we still kind of operating in this arm candy, trophy wife, artist life world?
I think it depends on what those particular people value. Like it all comes down to that at the end of the day, because there's some people that when they post online, they post their reality. Like for me personally, I like to post. I don't like to only post when something good happens to me. Sometimes my roof in my bathroom fell.
Did it?
Yeah.
It completely collapsed
Oh no.
out of nowhere, and I posted it because the reality is like I'm not living in JBR with the tallest buildings of like I'm a local artist. I don't have like $1 million to spend on whatever, and this is my reality. I'm a rapper, and my brand is being broke. This is the point, right?
You're
Like,
living
this
up
is-
to the brand.
Right.
exactly. That's the whole point of it, right?
Right.
And so I think that in that way, I like to show that I'm not as surface level as I could be. Right. Obviously, online me and like real life me is
different.
There is a
100%,
difference.
Yeah, like there are
100%.
many layers to you knowing you in
The
person that
onion.
I know online is like,
onion
that
that
is
other
attached.
people don't see.
Of
right?
course, like I'm not shirtless right now.
No,
No.
you're definitely wearing
I
a shirt.
could be.
And it's a
no,
nice
thank
shirt.
you.
Thank you.
No. Let's keep all the shirts
it's all
on
the-
today, guys. Thank you. I
Also,
think
because we're not home, this is a professional.
of course.
this is a
podcast,
professional
so please.
environment. But I do feel like
I like how Reem, as she's
I'm
speaking,
like,
she covers up and like fixes her shirt.
making my point. I do feel like when I say young people, I mean people who are dating or as well. I feel
So
like
older people that are dating as well.
anybody that's
Okay.
dating, you had to go through a very strange time where like you had to develop a trust in someone, because when the lockdown happened, you had to be
Oh,
somewhere.
man.
And it's
Yeah.
not like you could go on, like once the lockdown happened after 7 p.m., you had to be wherever you were for the
Yeah.
night.
And
Right?
we know a few examples of our friends.
Of our
that
friends, just like, they went on Tinder and they knew they were staying the night
Yeah.
because they had to.
You have
there
to
was
assume that's
no-
the case. Like, so whether you like that person on a first date or not,
that's
they're saying.
weird.
Yo.
That's a scary situation to be
and it's
in.
also quite brave. Like, I think bravery there because, like, oh, we're gonna do this during COVID.
Yeah.
Like, did they get tested? Is that part of your agreement?
Not
Like,
everyone was like us. We
No.
like basically Area 51 did out.
Yeah, we
but
did.
like for a lot of people, I mean, loneliness is like we
No,
said,
it's
it's
critical.
it was an epidemic before the pandemic,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so that's only made worse. So how did you navigate that? Did you have girls come and stay over, or like
So during the lockdown period, particularly, I was in a relationship.
okay,
So it only when the lockdown ended did I go back on the market, as they like
yeah,
to say.
is that what they say?
Yeah,
Is this
yeah.
what the young people
the air horns that are flying,
say?
right? You gotta, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so during the lockdown, what's really interesting what you said though about the trust situation is my partner at the time, I actually traveled to her home country to be with her family during the
Okay.
time. So even though it was during lockdown, there was this weird air of discomfort of
Mm.
me constantly being at home and her constantly being at home, and
Like, was she with you or back home? And
no, this was back home.
oh, she was with her family
Yeah,
back home, and
yeah.
you're on your own.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the way I live my life is especially in relationships, like I do my thing, and hopefully my partner's also doing her thing. And then at some point we cross paths in the day, and we say hi, what's up, talk about our day, and then
Okay.
whatever happens.
Like
happens.
having separate and together.
Yeah,
lives.
because that to me that's important, right?
Okay.
But
It's a good balance.
yeah,
I could work with that.
But
It's tough balance to
when you're
strike.
on Zoom call 24/7.
Wait.
Zoom
So
is
you fall asleep during Zoom calls?
yeah, for sure they did. That
Yes,
Zoom
of course.
like
Take the laptop to bed. and
Zoom
fall
love
asleep.
affairs are a thing. Like the problem with Zoom is it does go on for it can go on
And
for
you don't
hours
realize. And
as long
Zoom
as you
fatigue is real.
Yeah.
But you felt that.
Yeah,
but-
and naturally, I think because at that point it was a long distance relationship until she came back. If we had separate things to do, like especially me, because I was like naturally already I always stay home anyway.
yeah.
Like
Because
I do my
your
thing. but
studio's at home.
Yeah, like
you
but
got everything.
like so I do my thing, but it's at home. But I didn't realize how much you could get bored of your partner's presence online.
Mm.
Because in person it's different. In person it's like even when we're together and we're not speaking, it's like
It's
like,
cool.
oh, I'm doing my thing. Like
I get that. So do you get bored of your partner during lockdown?
Yeah, and oh my God, yes, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if you made it through lockdown, you made it. Like
Yeah, there you
let's just
go.
be real here.
Yeah.
No, like
Yeah.
Omar is perpetually entertaining.
Right.
So he has always some shenanigans that he's up to, and there's always like something that's happening. But one of the things that I realize is he is so steady with his nature. So he is very much like when the lockdown happened, he would look at the sky and be like, "Oh my God, it's so blue today." You know, he always looked for like silver linings and like always
But
found.
and you guys also had a dog.
Well, we were dog
You
sitting,
were dog
and then we
sitting
got
for
a
a friend
dog.
at the time before you got your own dog. So
Right.
like,
So there's always like something that
kept y'all
happens.
busy.
But I am the kind of person that is an extrovert,
Right.
and that part of me suffered immensely
Yeah.
during
That was torture. I felt that.
during the
So
during
was I,
the
like, 'cause-
lockdown, and even now I feel like we were used to going out 6 days a week, meeting people throughout the day, and that dislocation, I felt dislocated. I felt literally at unmoored.
Yeah.
And if your partner, like speaking about partners, when you're in a relationship, what the lockdown does, or even the Zoom calls or whatever, it puts an immense amount of pressure on you to be what you were in a different day, in a different life, in this new strange environment.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think the people who survived it are the ones that are like, everything's different. We are not coming out the same. And we're just going to figure this out.
Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't make it. And
No.
that is absolutely fine.
Right.
Like we
Yeah.
cannot.
It's understandable.
Yeah.
No, you can't judge for that. But
We
also, I
cannot.
think there was a balance of things. Granted, y'all were in lockdown, but you and I speak often, and both of you had very busy lives on your own as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we did.
Between work, between family, between friends, even though it was online.
We have a full life.
You do,
We
you
do.
know, between, food and cooking and cleaning and doing different things.
I was sending food to OT's
Yeah,
house.
like,
Like
yo,
we would trade, his mom and I would trade
At
like
the time,
cookies.
Kareem
cute.
made a lot of money off of us. Because like my mom would do something great. I'll send Reem some food. I'll send Akawi food. I started making like homemade karak and I'll send them like
We made community.
thermoses.
Wow.
Yeah, so like
but-
it was a thing.
But
And
I was dating someone, like to put myself in
Yeah.
the shoes of like other people.
if you're in a new relationship, because like at least with you guys, you've been together long enough that like Omar would just pull up Reddit and he'll disappear for days.
By the time COVID
You
struck,
know?
Omar and I were together for 11 years. So
Yeah.
it's a really different circumstance. Our relationship was tested, obviously,
Yeah.
because I became different. I am a different person and
Yeah.
he is the same, but like I felt completely unmoored. And I admit that, But if I imagine dating in this environment, that's not something that I would know how to navigate.
Right.
So like, you know, you said like you were in a relationship, that long distance relationship, nobody bargains for that.
Yeah.
If you wanted to be in a long distance, you would have been in a long
Exactly, yeah,
you would have been in a
exactly,
long
yeah.
distance. You didn't pay.
Yeah.
You didn't pay for that when you entered in.
Yeah,
in
100%.
these
It
dates,
wasn't. It
right?
wasn't. It wasn't planned, and it wasn't like it's one of those things where it's like, I know my gut and my experience is telling me that this is not going to work out, especially this early on,
Yeah.
because there's not enough of a foundation.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like, I have never done this before.
Might as well.
Fair.
I'm, one of like, let me try, and I really like this girl, so like, let me,
Worth it. Yeah, I get that.
yeah. But I think part of it, would have, because for me, the getting bored aspect is not an issue because I understand the core of why I'm actually bored, and it has nothing to do with my partner. So I'm
There
able
it
to
is.
put that aside, but I'm only capable of doing that because I have other shit to do.
Right.
And with this particular situation, I realized that I cannot be with someone who has nothing to do.
Yeah. So that's a key point that I
Yes.
think, speaking of a type,
Yeah.
like I cannot be with someone and have never been with someone, will probably never be with anyone who has nothing to do. And that's because I need excitement. I need change. And
I've
I also
experienced that
need you
before.
to change. I
Mm.
need you to dramatically change.
Yeah.
Terrible judgment.
No, it is.
on
I've
it.
experienced that years ago, and I'm like, yo, like, you better have your own to do, cause
The L word is like lazy is a swear
I
word in
can't.
our house.
Yeah,
Like we
I
cannot.
can't.
Yeah.
And it's not that it was lazy, but it's because my time is full, right?
Yeah.
And I remember at the time that was a big cause of an issue in our
Yeah.
relationship. And this was years ago, but like it was one of those things where I made those comments like, look, how about we share calendars and let's actually like book time because my days are super busy.
Yeah, but
you
that's
know,
really offensive to someone who has
Exactly.
nothing to
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
So
yeah,
she
right?
can stare at her
100%.
empty
That's like-
calendar and see your full calendar. Is that what
Exactly.
you're trying to do?
that's so
Terrible.
that obviously that made things worse.
Of course.
In my head, I'm like, I found a solution.
It makes so much
this
sense
is
to you,
great,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm like, yo, this is a perfect solution because
Dog.
my calendar ran my life and to
Yeah,
some
yeah,
extent
yeah.
still does.
I say
And-
this with all the love. Are you dumb?
Yo, right?
Okay, but the thing is,
I
can
learned it
understand
the
how-
hard way.
Yeah,
I
I
learned
can
it the hard
understand
way
how that made
because
sense.
that made
Like,
logical sense. Like,
yeah.
yo, we can book out, movie nights, we can book out breakfasts and lunches and dinners and like partying, whatever. Like, let's book them all out together.
Cute.
And at least, we'll make it like this is our time,
Yeah.
But it's
but
not.
no.
See, okay, so here's the thing. She felt like she was slotted in. I can tell you how I would
Yeah.
feel, even as
Yeah.
someone who is equally busy. I would be like, listen, you make time when I want because that's how we're operating.
Yeah, her response was like, "Why do I gotta live by your calendar?" I'm like, "Cause my calendar's full."
Yeah, and then that obviously shows
Yeah,
the
of course.
disrupt, like
And that
yeah,
caused a
yeah,
rift,
yeah, of
right?
course,
It caused
of
a
course.
massive disruption. A lot of that I learned it the hard way. That okay, never tell anyone to like.
Yeah.
slot into
It's
calendars.
a hard thing to do because part of it is like you have this person that you want to grow with and understand and build a relationship with, and then you also have this whole other side of you that needs a large amount of attention, especially when you're trying to do something, when you have a goal. Because some people have busy schedules but don't have a particular mission
that they're-
statement,
yeah.
which is perfectly
perfectly fine.
perfectly fine. But when you do have one, it's like, how do I give you what you deserve and give what I'm going through what it deserves?
Being passion driven.
May I, as somebody who has dated the finest of artists in
Finest,
only the
debatable,
finest,
but an artist nonetheless.
only the finest. I have very good taste. I've dated many artistic types.
That's your type.
It is my type.
Yeah.
And but let's be clear. Like I love this about the men that I like have had the pleasure and privilege of being with is that they are all creative in some way. Not all of them were artists, not all of them were whatever, but to be a spouse of whether male or female, it doesn't matter. Whether you are when you are with someone that is artistic, you need to understand that when the art is happening, the job is happening, and you need to step aside. I have video of people who I've been with literally staring into the sky, having a cigarette for what seems like to them a minute, to me an hour and a half. And in that hour and a half, I do not exist. I do not exist. And I'm fine with that because I've got stuff to do. But I can imagine, and I've heard from other women who I love very dearly, and I've had to explain to them that you don't exist in their world in this artistic moment during this project until it's delivered, whatever. you know?
Facts.
But that could also be days.
It could be days,
yeah.
could be months,
yeah, 100%.
but that doesn't mean they're not thinking of you. It
Yeah.
just means that this is now
focus
the
is there.
focus. And if you cannot tolerate that, this is not someone you can
Yeah.
be in a relationship
And
with.
you know what the thing is about this, about my generation. Sorry, I need to
Yeah,
take care of
yeah.
myself.
Young buck.
Young buck. Basically, a lot of people who want to date artists will love that thing about them
Yeah.
and think that they can commit to it, and they feel like they have what it takes. But then what happens is, because they've signed up for it, they hold this resentment in
Yeah.
when they can't, when they end up
Right.
not being able to do
They
it.
love the output, not the process.
Exactly.
Well, they love the highlight. They love the Insta, but they
Exactly.
don't.
They love the, like,
they don't love the bathroom.
quick story
That's-
posts.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that causes a surreal amount of resentment, and also, like, in a way, hatred.
And sadness.
Yeah, definitely. And part of it for me is like, when I've, like, with some of my previous partners, it was like, I always make a point to explain what, like, how my life is and how my day is, so that they understand. But even when I do that, the allure of, okay, I'm being super conceited, like, speaking for all artists here,
Yeah.
not
No,
just
no.
myself.
Speak
as
for
a
yes.
person.
Yeah.
But, like, the allure of being with an artist, even for me, when I look at someone who's an artist, right? The allure of wanting to be with them, and it's kind of like, yeah, that's cool and everything. But, like, you know, like,
yeah.
that's how I feel sometimes
Yeah.
too about the people I'm attracted
But that
to.
explains why artists are attracted to other artists, because
Yeah.
they inherently
They
understand.
understand.
Yeah,
Because they're in your shoes as well. So they inherently understand
Exactly.
the process, right?
Yeah.
And what you go through.
yeah.
What
For
did
sure.
Peace Storm say? He said, if you date an artist and they write a song about you, you're gonna be like, you'll live forever in their lyrics type thing.
Yeah.
So that you're gonna be.
Yeah.
But that
This-
does not
You live
necessarily
for-
mean it's a good thing.
Yeah,
Considering
exactly.
Peace Storm and
Yo,
his
Peace
raps.
Storm is by the way, Peace Storm is low key like a Tumblr girl. Like a Pinterest girl. Like,
Yes, he is.
yo, with the quotes, that quote is like trended on Tumblr for
I
like 10 years.
can't. It's stuck to me. I don't know where he found it or said
Yeah,
it.
shout
but
out to Peace Storm.
Shout out to Peace Storm,
Facts.
making memorable copy since
Right.
forever. I just feel like, look, love is honestly,
It ain't
love
easy.
is shambles, right? Like, and nowadays especially, I feel like I don't expect anyone. I give everything grace. I don't expect anyone to come out. If I knew you in March, I don't know you now. I'm gonna have to get to know you
Yes.
again. You know what I mean? Everybody. We had to get to know
Yeah.
each other again. I had to figure out, and I'm okay with that because that's
I'm
something.
still getting to know Akawi.
Yeah, Akawi has come in full circle, you know?
Yeah.
But I do feel like, when I look at, especially guys like Tak, you are very emotional. You are very sensitive. I
But
think
you're
that
also articulate
You're-
with your emotions.
yeah.
Which is amazing, because like I think we come from that generation where that wasn't necessarily guys would talk about. But I'm
No.
happy that I learned to be able to be more articulate with how I
Mm.
feel about things. But I remember like when we did that episode with you and Pete Storm,
Yeah.
like you're incredibly articulate, and he was just being a Tumblr girl about it. You know? So I totally get that.
I love
Yeah.
them. No, and I
Bro.
love the fact that you are exploring things safely, but also, you are careful with people's
Yeah.
feelings. Because I think sometimes
Yeah.
artists do get lost in themselves.
100%.
And you sometimes forget
Yeah.
that there's another person with feelings sitting in the room
Yeah.
with you. And it is always important to kind of like lock
Yeah.
back to that.
Definitely, definitely. Like when you're an artist, at least in my case, it's what happens is when I start to think from a musical perspective, things start to become less natural and they become more like utilities. Does that
Yeah.
makes sense. So I start to look at the people like because so my creative process is super intense and
Mhm.
intimate. That's why I'm a very imagery based artist. Like I write,
Mm.
like I don't do all this like metaphors and
You're very visual,
I don't do what Peace Storm does. I try to paint the picture kind of thing. And that takes a lot out of me. And I start to look at things around me as
Inspirate, like
Yeah.
a muse.
yeah, and tools in a way. Like muse is a very nice way to put it, but at the same time it's like we unintentionally sometimes, and sometimes also intentionally, trigger situations and things.
Right. To experience it or see it.
And it's something
Play
we don't
out.
exactly, and we don't realize it a lot of times, and that's why we come like artists come across as very toxic.
That's
in a lot
quite
of ways.
insightful.
That's very
Yeah.
insightful,
Yeah.
Taki.
Yeah, and thank you. And it's like I had to realize that about myself sometimes is that like although I don't like having drama and issues in my life because I just cannot, I don't have the capacity for it. What I do have the capacity for is something happening and then me retreating into my little cave and then writing about it.
And do
You know?
you admit,
Wow.
or not admit rather, would you think that maybe sometimes you triggered those just to see how they would feel?
I think that comes down to me as a person. So I don't want to like put down
Right.
other artists, but sometimes because it helps me understand people better.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do have to trigger certain situations to see where my limits are,
Mm.
because naturally, just in the society that we're in, because people don't speak out about their boundaries as much as I'd like them to,
Mhm.
or people don't realize that they have boundaries. They just think they're social butterflies and just out here. The only way to find a boundary is to step on some toes
Okay.
in some ways.
Yo, that's
Yeah.
super insightful.
So-
Like, that's amazing. So, question: do you go back and tell them,
Or do you
that it was their
apologize for
confrontation?
using? Because I've apologized for doing stuff like that before.
Yeah, I mean,
But I apologized many years later because that's how long it took me to realize what I was doing.
Right.
But like,
I think it sometimes it takes I'm caught in between, like, am I doing this because I really feel this way, or am I doing this because I'm trying to like figure this person out?
right.
Because sometimes what I trigger isn't necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes
Of
it's
course.
a good things that I try to like, okay, what if I like I see them every morning putting this thing there, right? And they've been doing this for like the past 3 weeks. I don't know why they do it, but what if I do it for them?
Right.
Well, are they going to react in a way that's going to disrupt their process and they'll feel a little awkward? Or they're going to be like appreciative, like, oh, you noticed and you, right? Or sometimes it's one of those things where it's like you always leave half of your shawarma in the fridge and you don't eat it until like the last minute, until it's like about to go bad. What happens if I eat it
Right.
a day before?
Right,
Things
right,
are
right.
not a day
No,
before
no.
it's gonna go bad.
No, it's like
Or maybe I'm just hungry.
Or maybe you're just hungry and
You
maybe
get- you get
she's
your fa-
looking for flavor.
you get your favorite ice cream, hide it in the bag. Someone eats it.
You know?
yeah.
Start a war.
Yeah. Exactly.
I get that,
Oh,
I
she's
get
like,
that.
just throw a bomb in there.
Yeah,
Honestly,
just
just
throw it in there and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I think when I do apologize, it's I'm very quick to like, if I do get a negative response, I'm very quick to take accountability straight away, because
Yeah.
I
Good.
don't want resentment. I don't like the idea of like things being unspoken. So I'd rather make
it
the
brews.
mistakes.
Like squash the beef now
yeah,
and
like,
then get it
Yeah,
over
otherwise
with.
it's like a pressure cooker that's just been cooking slow, and that resentment grows
Which
over
is
time.
why I think what I've noticed now is the only people I can be with are the people who are confrontational and open to confrontation and understand the context of confrontation. That's a big one, because there's the like people will accept confrontation as long as it's on their terms, the way they want to hear things, right? Like if you do something that bothers me, I have to come and tell you in a way that is super respectful, and even though it's affected me negatively, and I'm entitled to my own reaction. Like, no, obviously, I'm not saying like shouting, like making a ruckus.
No,
but like,
no, I don't think that's I don't think
Yeah.
that's acceptable in any
at
way.
all. But what I mean is like a reaction in the terms of like if I seem bothered, or like if I seem distraught or like down about something, like what I'll get is response, like people like my brother, for example. He'll be the type to like why are you so pissy today? Like why are you being so angry? Like what's the point? Like why are you just get over it?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And if I confront it, I'd be like, yo, because you did this. It's like, okay, but it's not a big deal. And then the gaslighting starts.
Right.
Right.
But they accept the confrontation as in they're not uncomfortable by it.
No, but they're not going to engage in
Exactly.
like a discourse that's going to take it where it needs to go, so you
Exactly.
both can grow.
Unless I go to him like, hey, buddy, you see that thing that you did? Like, I really appreciate it if like you don't.
didn't.
Yeah,
Right.
like, and
But if it elicits the result that you want, why is it so difficult to be like
Because-
the other way?
because there's a part of it that's like, because look, I'm a firm believer in like attenuating yourself to a certain degree to get what you want, but there is also this point where it's like, but I don't feel this way, and I want you to know that because you're close in terms of like
emotional proximity.
yeah, like it's not if it's
But you're-
someone
and
yeah.
you're quite articulate, like
Yeah.
I think so what we learned from Dr. Underwood in previous episodes.
Purple hearts.
Purple hearts.
Yeah, like Purple Heart method, right? Where it's like, because also understand in a moment of anger, you can come off super
100%,
hurtful, right?
100%.
I'm not saying you are as a person,
in a
like
But
moment
you're,
of
I do
stress.
anyway.
or in a moment of stress or like
Yeah.
complete overwhelm, like you can say things that you don't mean. And like, I get that. Like, for example, with my brother, I remember like, I don't remember what it was, but like sometimes he'll do things that you'll bother. That's siblings. That's what happens,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, yo, bro, like that's not okay. Da, da, da. And I kind of went at him about it. And like, you sound condescending. I'm like, I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm annoyed. I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
Like this was not okay with me. And that didn't garner any result. Now he's
Yeah.
defensive and it just becomes this argument that goes nowhere.
Yeah.
Right. Which I understand, like that Purple Heart method is cool because then like, you know what? Let someone know I'm not okay with what happened, whether it's a Purple Heart or a text. Like we need to talk about this, but you give yourself time to kind of cool off and think it through where you're able to articulate yourself differently as well.
Right.
And I think
Yeah.
like that was such a great lesson from Dr. Underwood where I started doing that in various ways. Like I might not put out a Purple Heart, but like, okay, I need time. I cannot talk
Yeah,
about
of course,
this right
of course.
now.
Makes sense.
You know? And then once I'm like, okay, calm and collect and like really wrap my head around it, we can have a proper conversation.
Yeah.
My question is, do you think that there are situations where there is obviously, and look, at every situation, every conversation, there's a dynamic of, I don't want to use the word power, but there's a
No, there
dynamic
is.
of
There
like,
is, yeah.
yeah, like there's several dynamics of like authority, power, respect, aid, whatever. There's always something. A lot of people will take that that time away as a complacency for your end, and even if you do confront them in a calm manner, they will take that as an opportunity to do it again, knowing that you're not gonna.
So I'm very much like that. There are different levels of like hurt that I feel.
Yeah.
It's not always hurt, but sometimes it's annoyance, sometimes it's whatever. And OT knows this, and I think maybe you know this now. I will rarely strike on sight.
Yeah.
I will if I feel like I cannot see the horizon of our conversation, I'm just going to back out for a bit. I'm not going to be confrontational because I grew up in a violent home.
Yeah.
I grew up in a war-torn country. I don't need that in my life. I don't see that
Facts.
it's valuable. It's not my practice. Also, I aim to be as pacifist as I can possibly be. So what does that mean? It means that I am going to look complacent to you. Absolutely. But I don't care. I would rather
Facts.
like do it again. You're going to do it again. And I'm going to confront
Accept
you
it for
when
that.
I'm ready for that. And there are times when I'm never going to confront you. And I'll tell you because it's not worth my time anymore. For example, if I know there's someone in our history of knowing this person, a long history of knowing this person, the person has been toxic and the person has never apologized. So for example, if there's a friend that I have, and I've known a few people like this who have never apologized. So you're telling me in the entire lifetime I've known you, you've never made a mistake? That's problematic. That
Right.
means we won't get past this because I require an apology for the hurt that I feel, which you will never give me. Or not never, but I'm not here to dig it out of you. And on the flip side, you need to deal with your stuff separately. So I, in that circumstance, look completely complacent as a person because I've literally just stepped away and been like, yo, just deuces, like I'm
Right.
out. I'm not here for this.
But you also like you pull back completely. Like you're so far back, especially because like you're known to be
I'm
very,
engaged.
very highly engaged, very affectionate with people that are close in your life.
Yeah.
So I think with Reem especially, it's noticeable instantly
I make it clear
because she pulls
that
away
I don't
in a way that like you feel like there's something missing.
Yeah.
She make like it's a Reem tactic. Like she makes sure you realize something's
It's not a
missing.
tactic. It's how I've decided
But-
to live my
But
life
it
as a
works.
pacifist.
Yeah, but it
Because-
works because then you come back later and you have a very honest conversation about things, and it works out quite well.
Or sometimes I don't.
Yeah, and sometimes when she
I just
decides to
let
pull
that,
away,
we're done now.
Yeah.
I cannot have this in my life. It's not good for the people around me, or it's not good
yeah,
for me.
there are two answers she'll give, which is that we're done now, and the other one is like that person's dead to me, or that thing.
That
It
thing.
might not be a
That
person;
thing.
it could be a thing or
It's
a
usually,
circumstance.
you know what usually is? It's a pitch I didn't win. If I didn't win a pitch, I'm like, yo, it's dead to me.
So as
I'm
soon
out.
as it's dead to me, like you rebound so fast from that. Or like it's dead to
Yeah.
it's done.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like there's
It's a
no more
switch, there's
space
a
in
switch.
Reem's
Yeah.
life for that ever again.
But to
Yeah.
get to that point, and you will see this, there is a repetitive practice
Yeah.
and exercise of hurting myself or people around me. And I don't know how to because I come from a place of violence, like my family has, I've seen it. I don't know how to navigate out of that without being angry, and I'm not going to be angry.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. It's just
Yeah.
not who
Like
I
you're
am.
not going to play in
Exactly.
that arena.
No, because I don't think that I have once I cross that line, I don't think that I have the tools in my toolbox to not say something hurtful,
Back.
like with malice. In that moment, we're going toe to toe. I'm going to hurt you.
Yeah.
Why should I ever go there
Exactly.
again? I'm leaving that in the 1980s where my
Where-
family brought
Mm.
it to my life, and I'm going to cut the
Right.
door slammed when I
And it's
I
a
grew
wonderful
up.
practice. I think
You
that
know?
whether it's taken as complacency or whether it's taken as being a pacifist or whatever it is, I think there's a higher ground to that I admire, because it does allow for like not only to disconnect from the situation, give yourself time and come back to the table, but also we're not like, it is a clear practice of I'll never allow for things to be said that will be regretted later. I will
Yeah.
never allow for loud
Yeah.
voices. I will never allow for this what's it called? Like this aggression.
Yeah.
And
The Hulk aggression
yeah,
that we
like
feel
it
to come
becomes
out.
very clear, like, no. This is either going to be done in peace or it's not going to be done at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I'm
And-
not at the table and there's a war
And I
happening
love
without
that.
me.
Like that's the
Like-
practice I learned from Reem in my life as well. Like
Mm.
I think it's wonderful, because whether it's going to be misunderstood, and if
You
somebody
will
doesn't
be
know you at the beginning,
will
it
be
might be
misunderstood.
misinterpreted as a power thing or like a lack of
Right,
power.
of course.
But the thing is that you're coming back to the table. We are
Yeah.
going to talk about this, and
Yeah.
I'm ready now, and we are going to sit
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
talk about this.
I
That-
think doing it like that is the